All right. We experienced a little bit of technical difficulties,
Yes, we did.
but we're back in the house. And listen, anytime you have an assignment that's going to help somebody, that's going to speak to somebody's heart, their situation or their circumstance, you should know that the adversary, and I don't have to call him out by name, you should already know that he's going to be there, that he's coming. And guess what? He don't want us to have this conversation. He don't.
Nope.
He don't want us to have this conversation. So do me a favor out there. If you're back with us, if you're back in the house, let us know that you can hear us. Matter of fact, talk to him, Joyce. I'm gonna go over here to the control stand and see real quick. Tell him to talk to us. Let me see. Can you hear us? Can you hear us now?
I'm looking to see if they can hear us. If we have anybody on.
We got people on. We got 3 people on.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we got 3 people on. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now? It's not connected to my personal Facebook anymore. Let me see here. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Let us know. They can hear us. They can hear us. They can hear us. We good. We're good. We're back in the house, y'all. Let me tell you, I got in some trouble. I tried to explain to Lady Joyce that, listen, with technology, sometimes these things happen. Like you literally have no control. You could do absolutely every single thing right. We just had church yesterday. We didn't have any issues when we had church. And now here we are trying to have a conversation about relationships, about marriage, and boom, we're having technical difficulties. But I'm so grateful that we have some faithful viewers.
Yep, that's right.
That believe in us enough to let us know, hey, look, something's not right. Something is not right. And guess what? We want to hear absolutely every single thing you have to say. Put some hearts on this if you can hear me. Put some hearts on it. Let me see them hearts. Let me see them hearts going. If you can hear this, let me see those hearts. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. We're back in the house. We are back in the house. So let's start from scratch. Okay, so what we're doing is we're moving in a direction of engage with me, honey.
I'm making sure I'm on the right page.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, then we got the hearts. We're good.
I can see people's comments.
So what we're doing, y'all, just for those of you that are joining us, number one, we normally broadcast at 6 p.m. anyway, right?
I think it's 7.
7. We normally broadcast at 7 Pacific Standard Time, and we were trying to change our time to appeal to a lot of our people, our following are on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So we didn't want everybody to be up all night, trying to hear us. But God gave us something, and He blessed us. Listen, we've been together 27 years, and a lot of times, people don't want to hear advice or things from people who have no demonstrated success. And we might have demonstrated success, but listen, it was very hard to get here. And the thing about it is, what this topic is about, it's hard to maintain it. Right. So that's why we're having this conversation about keeping the fire burning. You see the fire behind us? We're trying to keep this fire burning. We don't want this fire to go out. We want to keep this fire going. And listen, I hope that whatever we have to say helps someone. You might be in a new relationship. You might not even be in a relationship. You might be trying to figure out, what do I need to do once I get in a relationship to keep the fire burning? Or you might be in a relationship, not married, thinking about further commitment. What do I need to do to maintain that? Or you might be where we are. We've been together 27 years, been married for 24 years this year, and we have to make sure that we do things within our marriage and our relationship to keep the fire burning.
That's right.
And so right now we're talking about from the fire of passion.
To what? From the fire of passion to what?
What is passion?
Passion, again, I think passion is a strong sense of obtaining something that you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not quite the same, because in the beginning you didn't know the definition of what I looked up, but your definition is literally the same as Webster's. Well, Webster says passion is a strong feeling or emotion that causes you to act on something. And listen, when I first met you, baby, I was full of passion. I mean, full of passion. But watch this. Passion is not just intimate between.
Yeah.
You had a baby girl.
Yes.
Her name was India. She
Yes.
was 2.5 years old.
Yes.
Right? Therefore, my passion wasn't just for you. My passion was for her.
That's right.
And it was a package deal. And essentially, I would imagine that in order for you to let me in, there had to be some passion from you to me. Am I right?
You're right. You're
Okay.
absolutely right.
Okay. So we see that, we feel that, but what happens is we go to a next level or we go to a next stage. And the next stage of the relationship is either we move in or get married, and then something happens to the passion.
Yeah.
Right? The passion changes.
It dwindles.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. So what I'd like to talk about tonight is where did the passion go and what happened? And I just happen to believe that I was manipulated in such a way that there were some things that happened to me that caused me to have all these crazy, passionate feelings for you. And so I was manipulated. I'm just going to tell everybody.
Who was you manipulated by?
Huh?
Who was you manipulated by? Yourself?
My body was manipulated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my body was manipulated. My body was manipulated. And because my body was manipulated, it was controlling some of the feelings that I had. But I think you being a nurse, I think you have a little bit of better understanding or know what was happening to my body. Can you tell us what happens to your body when you're feeling these feelings of passion?
Well, when you have feelings of passion, even, for someone like, intimate feelings, or even if you have a feeling of even if you, long to see someone you haven't seen for a long time, like maybe a mother, a father, or a loved one, your body releases dopamine. Okay. And that's like, that's that happy feeling you get when you come amongst someone that you haven't seen. Okay. With you and me, it could have been like, when us longing to be intimate, that dopamine gets released. Yeah,
I felt that. I felt that. What else? What else do you feel?
Well, you feel, I got it written down here. You have the norepinephrine. That's what keeps your heart fluttering.
Okay. Yeah. I felt that. I had that going on. Keep going. Keep going.
That, okay. And oxytocin, which has become known as bonding, cuddle, like when you want to cuddle. Okay. That's a hormone that gets released. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And then there's another feeling, right? That's how do you pronounce that?
Try
it. Phenethylamine?
Yes, you got it.
Okay.
What is it?
Yeah, phenethylamine.
Yeah.
And it gives you your emotional and physical energy.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. Gives you your emotional and physical energy. So as you are, navigating, the beginning of this relationship, your body is experiencing all of these things. But you have to understand, your body really wanted one thing.
What?
Is this PG or rated R?
Keep it clean. What's wrong? Yeah.
Your body wanted what we know enables to continue the human race to continue going.
Yeah.
Right. Your body wanted to experience that. Yes. My body did want to experience that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, but it's real. That's true. But once you make the decision to go to the next level, then you have to understand there's something happens. Yeah. And the passion sometimes goes away, right? The passion goes away, and often people complain about the passion missing in their relationships. They say, well, where did the passion go? Yeah. Well, I think in order to really identify and understand where the passion went, we have to examine what happened, right? What happens when you get married or move in together?
Well, once you get married, you move in together, you don't have to, plan like when you were dating and when you didn't live together, before you got married, you would get excited about, I got to see, Pastor Terry today. I got to, what I'm going to wear, I want to look good for you, and everything. Yeah. And once you start living together, you get used to one another, you lightweight take advantage, not take advantage, but you take one another for granted.
Right.
Because you know you're gonna see me. Yo,
Right.
I'll see Joyce tonight,
Right.
or you know, we'll wake up in the morning. I'll see her when she gets off work. So you get in as a routine of doing the same old thing every day.
Well, you know, I have to kind of agree with that because, you know, well, number one, my passion was great for you because you gave me the wrong phone number. I thought some of y'all might know that story, but Lady Joyce gave me the wrong phone number. It took me 3 weeks, almost a month, to figure out the phone number in order to reach her. And that whole time, my heart was fluttering. I mean, literally, you know, my heart was fluttering. And then, you know, when we got together, we moved in together, right? And, you know, now we're pastors and we don't necessarily encourage people to move in together because really what you have to understand when you move in together, there is no commitment. There is no legal commitment. The only commitment that you really might have, you might be on a lease together. But outside of that, there is no commitment. I can leave when I want, you can leave when you want. But it's different when you take the next step, you know, and you get married. But up until that time, you're trying to, like you said, I'm trying to call, I'm texting you, hey, when can I see you? When can we have a date? When can we get together? And then when we move in together, I no longer have to make those arrangements. Right. And we kind of fall into, you know, a routine. We fall into a routine.
A daily routine.
A daily routine. And, you know, what happens with that routine is we get used to one another.
That's right.
Yeah, we get used to one another. And, you know, the things that used to be exciting to us are no longer exciting.
Because we used to it.
Yeah. So, you know, so what we're really trying to do, you know, in this message is talk about ways to keep the fire burning. And in order to keep the fire burning, we have to be able to recognize the things that stop it from burning. Right. And one of the things is that when you see each other every day, you're not always up for each other or down for each other because you know, we're in a routine. We see each other every day. It's difficult to hide when we're tired, stressed, you know, grumpy. You know, before there was a level of excitement that overshadowed those feelings. Right. And now that we're together, we don't have that anymore. So we have to figure out how do we keep the fire burning. Something else that happens is the things that we used to do for each other, we have a tendency to forget because you do those things. And really, I did a lot of things to win you over, right? The real question is, though, did I continue to do those things once I won you over? Right. And
did you have the urge to continue those things once you thought you won me over? Right.
You know? Absolutely. So, you know, there might be someone out there right now, you know, thinking in retrospect, wow, you know what? I'm experiencing that. I'm going through that. He jumped over fences, hurdles, knocked people over to get to me.
Brought me flowers and candy, and you know, he took me out to dinner. You know, did nice things for me.
Yeah.
You know, clean up you know, I didn't have to do many chores. He washed the clothes and cleaned up the kitchen. Yeah, those type of things.
But what happens is, you know, I began to take you for granted. Right. And listen, you took me for granted too. Right. You know, it's a two-way street. And you know, all of the special things that we did, all of the, you know, things that we experienced, we no longer do. And what ends up happening, it ends up having a negative impact.
It can have a negative impact. It doesn't have to have a negative impact, but it can.
Because when you're dating, all of these chemicals that you talked about, this dopamine and this oxytocin and norepinephrine, all these chemicals are in control of our relationship.
Of your emotions.
You know, they're in control of our emotions, and we're excited by the newness of it. But when the newness goes away, right, when you settle into your routine, you're now subconsciously not doing the things that allowed you to get there in the first place.
Well, you know, just saying that, you know, let's slow down a little bit. A lot of people, that may be why they continue to be in new relationships over and over again, because when it dies down, like, oh, okay, I'm used to her. She's going to do this. You know, we're in a routine now. And they always want that newness, like that newness, that feeling. And, you know, their bodies can manipulate them. Like, you know, like, oh, well, I guess I don't like, because they always want that newness.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like when you buy a new car, you always want that, the way it smells, the way it drives. Then
Right.
when you get used to it, like, it makes you feel a certain way when you have another new car. But then guess what? You want another one and another one and another one.
Yeah. And listen, for you men out there, that's something that you really have to overcome, because I'll say it like this. That was one of my issues prior to coming into a relationship with you. That personally, as a man, I love the newness. So, so my emotions, I found it hard to settle down with one person because I like the chemical reaction.
Right.
of what was going on. But the real test is, now that you've made the commitment to marriage, now that you've, made the obligation, what do you do to keep the fire burning?
What do you do?
And so what we're doing is we're doing a 36 module lesson on keeping the fire burning. We're giving you all the first 14 for free. We will have this available for you to purchase if you wish to do so after that. But we're going to go through these first 14 weeks talking about keeping the fire burning. And, one of the things that, we have to do is we have to think about, what we enjoyed the most about the early part of our relationship. And we want to be sure that we keep that going. So
That's right.
Tell me, in your own words, what were some of the things that you enjoyed, about that beginning part of our relationship?
The beginning part of our relationship, I thought you were full of energy. I felt like you had a lot of different ideas about life. You had, you ate a lot of different. You was a foodie, so a lot of foods I had never tried before. I really was not keen on seafood, but now I eat all types of seafood. So just exploring, different things that you would do. And you was, I knew that you were an entrepreneur. I knew that you always be that because you're a go-getter. You didn't have that sense of fear of doing something new. And
vice versa. I thought you were the sweetest woman besides my mother that I ever laid my eyes on. I mean,
do you still feel that way?
I do.
Yeah,
I do. But there have been times that I haven't.
I know.
Right? But part of keeping the fire burning is going through this exercise that we're going through now.
Right.
Trying to go back and revisit the things that I did to make you happy.
Right.
The things that I did to win you over, the things that you did to make me happy and win me over. And in the same way, there's a lot of people out there that are watching and listening right now that need to reflect. They need to go back. They're having issues right now in their marriage. They're having issues in their relationships. Some of them are not in relationships for their inability to keep the fire burning. Right. So what we're trying to do for you all out there is we're trying to say, hey, look, if you're having issues, that you were in love, madly in love with this person at one point in time, because if you weren't, you wouldn't have made that step. You wouldn't have made that move. But now, after 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, whatever the time frame is, you don't feel the same way. So if you want to keep the fire burning, then you have to go back and revisit, what did I do to make her happy? Or what did you do to make me happy? And, now that our relationship has matured, how has it changed?
Well, I think it's changed by, since our relationship has matured, I think sometimes we, like I said earlier, we take one another for granted. Like after, for an example, last week, I worked Monday through Friday. I worked, every day last week. And oh my gosh, because we're in this COVID pandemic right now, a lot of changes on my job. And I'm being pulled a lot of different ways that I'm normally not pulled. And sometimes I'm expecting Terry to know that, Pastor Terry to know that when he calls me. And from your point of view, he said I was very short. Like he's looking for me to be comforting to him in his situation when he calls me at work. And like I may just be like, just had a difficult conversation or something, on that level. And I'm not giving that sense of comfort to you. I may be very short, but it's not that I'm being short with him. He just may be the person that is receiving my frustration for something else. And he takes it very personally. You did.
Well, I took it personally because I was in need.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I think, one of my comments to you was that we have to recognize when one another is in need. Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it means, Bishop talked about it last night, that selflessness,
Right.
that even though you might be going through something,
yeah,
I still need you right now in this moment.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
And it goes both ways, though. It goes both ways. But think about this. Right now, we're reflecting back on the things that we did to win one another over, the things that you did to set yourself apart from anyone else, right? And I can think of a time, listen, y'all going to get a kick out of this. I can think of a time when the building that you worked for was adjacent to the highway, right? And I would call you at work.
Yeah.
Now, for context, you didn't have the level of responsibility you had now, right? You were a medical assistant. But baby, I knew you were going to be a nurse. I knew you were going to elevate in your career. I knew that. But for context, one of the things that you used to do, I used to call you when I was approaching your job, and you would go to a window. You would go to a window and wave at me while I was passing you.
I did that.
Right? So you think about that in context of me now calling you to have a conversation and you're short with me. That's a stark difference between what you did to get me versus what you did to keep me.
Right.
Right. So this is why having these conversations about keeping the fire burning, about the things that we did for one another to win each other over are important, because we might just need to revisit some of those things when the fire goes out. Right?
Yeah. Let's get back about me being short on the phone. So, you call me, you wanting something from me, right? What was you wanting when you called me? What were you going
I think for context, they have to understand that Pastor Terry's going through a lot right now.
Right.
You might not see it, I might not look like it, but I'm really in one of the most difficult seasons of my life. And no one knows that like you do.
Right.
Right. So I have developed the expectation that when I'm in that place and I know I need comfort, that you're really the only person I can get it from. Right. So that's why I called you.
Well, I'm not the only person you get it from.
Well, you're the person I want it from, though.
Right.
Yeah, I don't.
When I say I'm not the only person, sometimes you have to pray on it. And
absolutely.
I'm not saying another one. I'm saying you got to pray on it.
Oh, I know you're not saying another one. Yeah,
absolutely.
I know you're not saying another one.
Okay.
But I think for context, it's important to understand each other's needs.
Right. You have to.
Yeah.
And so when you called me and I was short, and what was your immediate reaction?
I was like, well, okay, bye. I mean, go ahead and do what you got to do. I'm not going to bother you. I mean, listen, I don't want to be a burden to nobody.
Yeah. So how could you?
Or I don't want to feel like I'm being a burden to anyone.
So what about what Bishop was teaching about selflessness? So did you take the time to recognize this? Joyce is normally not like this. And yeah, I got my situation right here, but sometimes I have to, not focus on my situation and figure out why she's so short with me.
Did I think about that? No, I mean, because I know why you're short with me. I know what you're going through. I know what you're experiencing, right? But as I communicated to you this week, I feel like we have an obligation to be each other's rescue, right? So, I like to look at it from a different perspective. I like to look at it as when I call you and you're in that space, I'm your refuge. This is your moment to take 3 minutes, not only to give me what I need, but to get what you need. I look at it from a different perspective.
And how can you get to that perspective? How can you get to that? So, when you called me, I was short, like, what's up or whatever. And instead of you having that feeling of, why are you so short? I get off the phone. Maybe you should count to 3. And you teach your kids to count to 3 or count to 10 or whatever. And say, okay, Joyce, what's going on, babe? why you so short with me? And then it's like, well, I'm calling you because, I need this from you. Like talk, communicate instead of putting up that wall right away when you first get on the phone.
Well, I think, for context, since we're sharing, that wasn't the only time you were short. So I was really, you know me, I avoid confrontation. I avoid confrontation, and y'all listen.
Sometimes you have to hit it head on.
Yeah, but see, also I'm a recovering how can I say it? I have a temper, right? And I feel like God has worked on me in such a way that I don't react negatively the way I used to, right? Because listen, Pastor Terry don't start fights, but he will finish them. So, and trying to keep with my mantra of, woosah and trying to, keep everything, copacetic, I'd rather walk away from a confrontation than run into one. Hey, look, we said we were always going to be transparent with y'all. This is transparency.
You can't run away all the time, honey.
Well, it's not about running away. It's about taking a step back, letting you cool off, and hopefully,
That's a difference. That's a difference
around.
Between taking a step and letting me cool off, and taking a step and having an attitude about it and coming back. That's two different steps.
That's true, but there comes a point, though. There comes a point when somebody has to give.
Yeah.
We can't keep, like, we're going back and forth about this now.
Yeah.
We can't keep going back and forth about it.
Yeah.
Someone has to give, because if we don't give, and listen, this is why fires go out.
Yep, that's right.
Right, because people don't know how to manage this part of the relationship. I'm not getting what I need from you. Okay, forget it then.
Right.
And watch this. It can turn into something really bad.
It can.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why this conversation is even that more important, because if we don't work through this, and if we don't develop ways and skills to deal with situations like this, we end up experiencing an outcome that we shouldn't experience.
That's right.
Right.
But you got to be able to have an out to talk about the situation.
Absolutely.
You have to, just like we've been discussing this right now.
Yeah.
You got to say, I have to tell you how I feel.
Absolutely.
You tell me how you feel.
Absolutely.
And then
I
we
agree.
move on from there.
I agree.
So we have to agree to disagree.
I agree wholeheartedly. I disagree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And listen, for some of us out there, you might be in this place right now. Right. You love your husband, you love your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or whatever it is, and for whatever reason, you're not happy right now. And you're trying to figure out why.
I've been there before.
I have too.
Yeah, we've both been there before. Yes.
And that's what we're saying. We're not professing to know it all. We're not professing. As you can see, our relationship is not perfect. We just demonstrated, that we can disagree, but yet we can find a way to navigate that and get through it. And ultimately, when we take those vows before God, we have an obligation and a responsibility to figure out ways to get through it, right? And so if we're going to keep the fire burning, not only do we have to think about the things we did to win each other over, we have to think about how our relationship has changed or matured in that time frame. Right? Because I said, I can't expect you to be on the side of the highway now, waving at me when you got 40 people, on your staff that you manage, and they're gonna be like, "Where's Joyce?" She's in the window. She's in the window waving at her husband. I'm not saying I have the expectation that you do the same thing.
If you were going by and I knew what time you was going by my job, and the highway, I would still wave at you.
Yeah, I believe that.
I
believe you would.
I would take time to do that.
I believe you would. But we're talking about keeping the fire burning.
Keep the fire burning.
And listen, like I said, we've been together 27 years. We've been married for 24, and there have been times when our fire was out, or barely burning.
Out.
And what we're trying to talk to you all about is, okay, so the fire went out. How do I relight it? How do I keep it burning? And one of the things that you have to examine is what expectations do you have now that I used to fulfill that are not being met? Like, we have to ask each other that. What are you in need of that I'm not doing?
Right.
Right? You can answer it if you want to.
What's the question again?
What expectations do you have of me that aren't getting met right now? And look, I'm gonna tell you, hey, look, Pastor Brown, if you're watching, I'm sticking with your mantra. Transparency, what is good for the character, right? But bad for the reputation.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope this doesn't tarnish our reputation. But listen, we're trying to help you, and we're trying to help ourselves, right? Because the reality is that we could jump off of here now and have an issue or something happen that puts the fire out, right? But if we don't develop a skill set to navigate, these type of issues, then it's very hard to keep the fire burning. Right. So do you have any expectations that I'm not meeting? And listen, I implore you all to ask your mate the same question. Look, if your fire's out, if you're trying to figure out how to get the fire back going, I implore you right now, ask them, what expectation do you have of me that I'm not meeting? Because listen, a closed mouth can't get fed. If you don't tell me, I'll never know. I'm not a mind reader. Right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, you want me to tell mine?
Yeah, go right ahead.
So my expectations, and I wouldn't say that are not getting met, but this is something that you and I talk about all the time, right? That you're such a strong woman, right? One of the biggest things that attracted me to you when we were dating, when that passion and all those chemicals were going crazy in my body, one of the things that attracted me to you the most was how strong you were. That was because you worked 3 jobs. You were in the Army Reserves. You had your own apartment. You didn't depend or count on anyone for anything. And I admire that so much because honestly, prior to you, I had never seen it because my mother was a homemaker, right? So since my mother was a homemaker, a lot of the attributes that I'm looking for in a relationship and a woman are indicative of what I experienced from being my mother's son. Right. So getting back to what I'm missing from you, or what I feel an expectation that is not necessarily not being met, but that we could work on, is in our communication, your softness level. Right. I say to you often, you don't have to be as hard and strong and fierce with me because I'm your husband. I know you're strong. I'm like LL Cool J. I need love. It is what it is, right? We're talking about how we keep the fire burning. If you never speak, excuse me, I'm passionate about this.
Okay.
If you never speak softly to me, how can our fire stay burning?
Right.
If I never feel a certain way from how you talk to me, how can the fire stay burning? Right. So while it's sometimes you're going to find that these conversations are difficult, they are necessary. Right. So in the same way, tell me about an expectation that you have, and might not necessarily be that I'm not meeting it, but it might be something I need to work on.
I think you need to work on. I think sometimes you're overly sensitive, just like you talked about me being harsh and the way I talk. I don't see myself, but I have to take it as for what you're saying. You say I'm talking to you in a way that's too strong, and I don't see that. But I have to recognize that's the way you feel. And sometimes I think that you're overly sensitive. Like I said, well, you should know me by now. He knows I don't mean anything by that, but then you can oh, well, you have to be a little softer, or you got to do this, and I have to recognize, that that's how you feel, and take it into account. That's how it's the way you feel. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, even though I don't think I'm harsh. I don't think I.
Well, I didn't say you were harsh.
Yeah.
I said that level of softness because.
But I'm very direct. There's no. You won't get mistaken by what I'm trying to say. You won't say, does she mean this or does she mean that? No, you know exactly what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, we have to be flexible.
Yeah.
I
That
have to
goes
be
both
flexible.
ways, yeah.
Yeah, I have to be flexible, the same way you do.
Right.
Because what we're talking about right now is how to keep the fire burning. And listen, when your mate or your spouse is telling you, about their expectations that you could do better at, getting defensive is not going to keep the fire burning.
That's right. That's right.
Right. We have to be vulnerable. We have to have a level of vulnerability.
Right.
Right. In order to address, because if you tell me that I need to do a better job at something, I need to recognize that.
Right.
I mean, I need whether I think I'm doing it or not.
Right. You have to recognize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's make sure that we're communicating the seriousness, of what we're discussing. Because we're not the only people that experience that.
Right.
Yeah. We're not the only people that have experienced that. So listen, I hope that this is really blessing you. This is not a long discussion. We're pretty much at the end. I want to end it by just imploring you all to go back and think about, as you think about how to keep the fire burning within your marriage, within your respective relationships. For those of you that might be thinking of ways to keep your relationship when you get one, think about the things that you did to get in a relationship in the first place.
That's right.
Think about what made you feel the way you felt when you first met the person.
That's right.
All of the things that you did, all of the sweet little things, all of the sweet little sayings, all of the flowers, all of the things that you did to get them, and then go back and revisit and reflect on that, and look, be accountable to yourself. Ask yourself. So some of it is not necessarily a conversation that you need to have between the two of you. Some of it is a conversation we need to have with ourselves.
I agree.
Right?
Right.
Because there's no greater accountability than that's to God and to ourselves. Right? You can hold yourself responsible for what you know you should do, or what you know you need to do.
Right.
And listen, when you take that oath before God, and for better or for worse, in sickness or in health, you're saying that regardless of the trials, the tests, and the tribulations that we go through in our marriage, that I am committed to you.
Right.
Right. So if you don't develop skills, to navigate, then 9 times out of 10, it's going to end up with an outcome that neither person wants.
That's right.
Right. So what we said tonight, these are the things that we're reflecting on. These are the things that we want you to reflect on tonight. We want you to think about the early part of your relationship, and the things
that you used to do that you don't do anymore.
Right.
Like what sparked that fire.
Right.
You and your loved one, and your partner. Yeah.
And then after that, you need to be realistic, right? You're different people than you were then.
Right.
Right. You've matured. Your relationship has matured. You've grown. That does not mean you stop.
Right.
Right. It might look different than it used to, but if we want to keep the fire burning, we have to
do
make
some new things. Yeah.
we have to make sure that we're doing that.
Explore.
And then we need to make sure that we're managing expectations.
Right.
Right. That you're managing the expectations that you have of me. I'm managing the expectations that I have of you. Right. And then we have to make a determination. If those expectations aren't being met, then what do we need to do to change that?
Right.
Because I'll tell you right now, in front of the whole world, in front of all 100 viewers that we have, however many there are, I love you with my entire heart. And my desire is to be with you the rest of my life.
And I feel the same.
So that means that the trouble that's going to come next week, our love has to be strong enough to be able to conquer that. Right. And if we're not making sure that we're addressing each other's needs, right, it's hard to keep the fire burning.
Right. That's right.
That's really what this conversation is about. It's hard to keep the fire burning. So listen, we're again, you can see this isn't a perfect relationship by any means, but it's one of that can be nurtured, right? It's because of the love that we have for each other, because of the love that we have for God, and because of the love that we have for people is the reason why we're putting it on display.
That's right.
There's a reason why we're executing this with the level of transparency that we are, because we feel like God called us to save some marriages. We feel like God called us to save some relationships. So through this transparency, I pray that you're being blessed. I pray that your relationship or your marriage is being blessed as a result of what we communicated on tonight.
That's right.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Keep the fire burning.
Keep the fire burning. Keep the fire burning. Keep the fire burning. That's the whole goal, is to keep the fire burning. And listen, 13 more weeks.
13 more weeks.
Let me just share with them what next week's topic is. Next week's topic is going to be, just give you a little bit of a preview. Next week's topic is, you can keep it special. You can keep it special. Next week, we're talking about you can keep it special. Today was from the fire of passion to what? Right? From the fire of passion to what? And for those of you that might have joined in a little bit late, what did you say passion was?
I can't remember, but it's like a passion is a, what did I say?
You said it was a strong feeling.
A strong feeling that you want to.
A strong feeling or emotion. That's what passion is. And that's accurate. That's really what passion is.
What's the Webster say?
Webster say it's a strong feeling or emotion, and emotion to be acted upon. It is actually the fuel in the fire.
Fuel in the fire.
That's what passion is. So listen, look at us as your gas station tonight. Go ahead and fill the tank up and listen. Go from the fire of passion to what? And then next week, make sure you catch us, because next week we're going to talk about how you can keep it special. You can keep it special. Hey, so listen, our controls are a little off tonight, but listen, I hope that this series is really going to bless some people.
Yeah, we are.
I really do. My prayer is that this communication is going to help someone that is already in some existing relationships, even help some people who are not in relationships, help them to get one.
Right.
How about that?
That's right.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to sign out. You know what we say on our way out. Whomever God favors, the kingdom features.
And the enemy fights.
And hey, listen, you better believe that the enemy does not want your relationship to be successful. He doesn't want your marriage. He doesn't want to see you get married. He doesn't want your marriage to be successful. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus said that he came what? So that we might have life and have it more abundantly. That's what it's all about. So listen, whomever God favors, the kingdom features, and the enemy fights.
Be iconic. Love you all.
Peace out.
Peace out. The fire burning.
Keep the fire burning.
Yes, yes, yes.